There's a new administration in Washington. What does that mean for your retirement account? There's a lot of uncertainty, and markets hate uncertainty. But if you qualify, you may be able to convert your retirement account into solid gold. Protect with a gold IRA this month, and Noble Gold will gift you with this stunning solid silver Apollo 11 commemorative coin from the U.S. Mint. Click on the link below or call 877-646-5346 to see if you qualify. Good afternoon. I'm still reporting on the coup. I'm a big fan of North Carolina's new Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson. Robinson may well be the next senator from North Carolina, and that would cause a real shakeup in the U.S. Senate. Here is his speech before a Republican group last night.
You know, it never fails. Every time I do this, and then I open up Facebook Messenger, there's somebody else. You know, you shouldn't do that because everybody's not a Christian. And you know, that could be offensive and turn a lot of voters off, and you should really I hear this one all the time, ease up on the religious fervor. I am not making this statement for religious fervor. I'm not making this statement to appeal to anybody because they go to church every Sunday. I make that statement every time I speak because the only reason I am standing here is because of Jesus Christ. Yeah. He has ordered every step that I have taken in this. He will order every step that I take in the future. Without him, there is no future for me. And without him, there would be no United States of America. You see, a lot of folks in this country have come to a place where right now they think, oh, well, you know, we're just that good. And, you know, we don't need God anymore. Well, sure, we needed God during the Revolution and Valley Forge and everything was going bad. And yeah, we needed him then back all the way back in the Civil War days and things were going bad and World War II. And we're not fighting any real wars right now. We don't really need God. We don't need him. Let me tell you something right now. If God were to take his hand off this nation this moment, you would know it. The only reason why this nation is as good as it is because God has been good to us. He has been absolutely good to us. And the only reason he's been good to us is because faithful people have fallen down on their knees and asked God to bless America. One of the most despicable things that I think I've ever heard, unfortunately, came from the pulpit. When I heard a reverend say, you know, maybe God has blessed America enough. Maybe it's time for us to start asking him to bless some other nations. You know, you can stand in intercession for somebody with prayer. But that prayer is not effective till you get down on your knees in your own home and do it. And see, right here in this nation, we cannot be blessed enough. I will never turn down the blessings of God. Never turn his blessings away, and will never say it's enough. Because in it he sees fit to give us. We thank him for it. And the reason why he does, because we don't wait on some other nation to call on the name of Jesus Christ. We don't wait on another nation to pray for us. We don't wait for other people to pray for us. We fall down on our knees and pray to the Almighty ourselves. We always have, and if we always do, we always will, and this nation will always be great because of it. Amen. So give him thanks, first and foremost. I have been informed tonight that I cannot move around. My wife said, don't move around. People won't be able to hear you. Don't move around. So I'm going to have to stand here in front of this podium in place. And I desperately want to get down and walk around, but I can't because people won't be able to hear what I'm saying. But we will make do. So, can everybody hear me? Yeah. Fantastic. How about that other room in there? Can you hear me? Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So why are we here tonight? Why are we here tonight? We're here tonight for a whole lot of reasons. But I'm going to tell you the same thing I told the crowd last night while we're here. Folks, we're here because it's time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's time. Way past time. What is it time? What is the time? What is it time for? Here's what it's time for. It's time for us as Americans, as Christians, as patriots of this nation, and as Republicans to stand up and proclaim the truth.
Yeah.
Unashamed, unafraid,
Right.
stand up and tell the truth. What is the truth? Many versions of the truth, according to some left-wing professors on college campuses. The truth is kind of what you make out of it. It's ambiguous. There's gray areas, you know. The truth is not always absolute. Maybe at your house, not at my house. The truth is absolute. There are truths that need to be told in this nation. Many of them. Number one truth needs to be told in this nation is this. Woman gets pregnant.
Right.
Baby inside of her. That's not a clump of cells that's meant to be thrown away like trash.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
That's a life that's been touched by God.
Yes.
We need to stand up and protect it. You see, the problem, and a lot of problems with the Republican Party in the past. A lot of problems. When I first got involved with the Republican Party, the thing that made me abandon my quest with my local party was this. I could not find anyone who wanted to fight. By and large, every time I would say something, and I was much like I am now, only I wasn't nearly as refined. By and large, when I would stand up and say things like, you know, we need to be going out here and telling folks the good news about the Republican Party. We need to be going out here telling them about how the Republican Party ended. Because see, I just learned all this. How the Republican Party ended slavery. How the Republican Party passed the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment to the Constitution. How the Republican Party passed the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Y'all want to talk about all this thing. People are like, ho. Can't talk about those things. Those things are too controversial. You know, people coming and start asking us too many questions, and people start coming and want to talk, you know, it's just too controversial. We need to talk about things that people understand, like limited government, you know, less taxes, and all those good things. That's what folks want to talk about. And I was looking at them thinking, you know, the Republican story, and I knew this back then, the Republican story is not limited government and less taxes. The Republican story is not fiscal responsibility in government. That's not the Republican story. I can assure you that the martyrs who gave their lives for the cause of liberty, of making sure that this republic lived up to the words of its founding documents, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They did not die for limited government and smaller taxes. That's not what they died for. Those men and women gave their lives for the cause of this republic and what it truly stands for. And what this republic stands for is freedom, equality, justice for everyone. And you see, our friends on the other side of the aisle have dictated the narrative and have told the story. And now they have put on the breeches. See, they took off them Klan robes they used to wear. Yeah, I said they used to wear them Klan robes because they did. Check your history book, WRAL. That was not Republicans in those Klan robes. That was not Olivia Oxendine or Mark Robinson in those Klan robes.
That's right.
That was Woodrow Wilson and his cohorts in those Klan robes.
Get them.
Republicans believe in the ideals of liberty, freedom, equality. That is what this party was based on. You know, I had the occasion to talk to some folks one time at my local party, and they said, you know, I think we should change the grand old party thing. It's old, it's outdated, it's outmoded. We need to change it. We need to call it the Great Opportunity Party. Sounds nice, but no thank you. No thank you, because here's why. The reason why they call it the grand old party. Because there's only one party that can say what we can say.
That's right.
There's only one party in this country that has a grand old history of fighting for what is right. Only one. Now see CNN and CBS and ABC, and that leftist professor in that classroom will try to say different. But history tells the tale. See, the Republican Party was formed by a bunch of free soilers and Whigs and these folks called abolitionists.
That's right.
Who knew that the institution of slavery was not compatible with a constitutional republic whose words spoke so eloquently about freedom and equality in its founding documents. And from the very beginning, this party set a course in this nation to destroy that institution of slavery. Had it not been for our party, it would have been many, many more decades before the institution of slavery in this nation was defeated and trod underfoot. We, the people in this room, we are the folks that led that charge. So now how in the world do we get to this place that the Republican Party and Republicans are a bunch of racist old white men, rich, racist old white men? Yeah, I checked myself in the mirror before I came here.
You ain't black.
I'm not old, not that old, I'm not old. I'm not white. And last time I looked at my bank account, I'm not rich. And if I get rich as lieutenant governor, I'm also probably going to do some time. So how do we get to this notion that Republicans are racist? Here's how we got there. Because we've let somebody else tell our story.
Right.
We let that clown in the classroom tell our story. It's bound and determined to turn our children into communists. We let these idiots on television, and yeah, I call them idiots. Put it on social media. I call them idiots.
My wishes granted.
We're going to take a break here real quick and delve into this. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them taking their sacred duty as journalists and turning it into activism. You're not here to give me your opinion. Get your pad, get your pen, take down the facts, and report them. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you don't like it that I called you an idiot, you know where my office is. You can come see me. We can have a conversation about it. But we've allowed somebody else to tell our story. We've dodged our story, and in some cases, like I just gave you, we have tried to change our story. This is the grand old party, and we have a grand old history of service, and not just of service, but of absolute sacrifice.
Hee-haw.
You think about it. See here, let wash over a lot of things in history. I went down to the History Museum in North Carolina. And y'all, Lord have mercy. You go down and you look at on the wall, they have a description of Reconstruction. Now, I'm a history major and I've studied history extensively, particularly that period. During that period, the folks in the South that wanted to bring back the old South and wanted to bring back all the racism and everything that was associated with the old South, the white supremacy that was, all surrounded by that, keeping black folks down and keeping black folks here, keeping society separate. Those folks called themselves by a name. They called themselves redeemers.
Yeah, be right.
They were Democrats. They hated the Republicans who had moved down here to the South, and many of them that had sprung up in the South, and their activist allies who were trying to enfranchise black people in the political process. They despised them. They despised them to the point where they actually formed groups, and we know the names of them: the Black Leagues, the Red Shirts, the Ku Klux Klan. They went out and they murdered these activists because they were simply trying to bring equality to this nation and to the Deep South. They murdered them by the hundreds, and in some places by the thousands. In many ways, the Civil War didn't stop at Appomattox Courthouse. It kept right on going. The killing kept right on going as they sought to stop the progress that we saw that Republicans were fighting for. We passed the 13th Amendment at that time. Ended slavery. We passed the 14th Amendment, which gave black men the right to vote. We passed the 15th Amendment, which gave black people equal protection under the law. We passed real civil rights legislation. Now, to hear our enemies on the other side tell it, they're the ones that did that in the 1960s. No, sir, buddy. That happened in the 1860s. And that charge was led by the Republicans. See, the charge they were leading was against all those things. And they instituted something called Jim Crow. Took away those rights that Republicans had fought and died to give folks. So we moved into this era of Jim Crow. We started along that path. You know, it's funny how prophetic Republicans are, conservatives are. Oh, and I'm sorry. I did not tell you the rest of the stuff about the History Museum. Let me tell you what they did down here in this History Museum, these liberals did. And I know it was liberals because only liberals do this. See, they didn't call those folks redeemers on that board. That's not what they're called down there at the History Museum. You want to know what they're called? They're not called redeemers. They're not called Democrats.
What?
They are called, and this is the word they use over and over again, conservatives. You don't believe me? You go down there and check it out for yourself. Total misrepresentation of history. Not anywhere on that board does the word redeemer appear.
Right.
Very few times does the word Democrat appear.
Right.
See, we're allowing somebody else to tell our story. That's why when we look at Jim Crow, you know, I asked somebody just the other day, and this person has a master's degree in business. And I asked this person, who was responsible for Jim Crow? And he looked at me and he said, that's obvious. It had to be Republicans. I said, have you ever heard of a case called Plessy versus Ferguson?
Uh-oh.
No. Well, I thought you just told me that you were concerned with black folk. You were concerned about the plight of black folks in this country. See, I love to play that game with people. I love to stand in front of some of these people and say they're so concerned about black folks in this country. Because then you get to asking them questions. You ask them questions like, well, how many black folks came out of Africa during the West African slave trade? I don't know. A couple of million? I don't know. Well, where did they go when they left out of Africa? Where did they go to? I don't know. Well, how many of them survived coming over? I don't know. All of the pertinent questions that somebody that's so concerned with our history should know, all of a sudden they know nothing.
Right.
That's right.
Up to and including how we got to where we are right now.
That's right.
To the point where they don't know that the folks that formed Jim Crow, the institution that was meant to hold black folks back, and did in many ways, was formed by the same people that you go down there, Joe Biden, and push their name on that ballot with that D.
Right.
That's right.
Very same people.
Yes, sir.
See, folks, this is the kind of stuff we got to start talking about. Tell them. This is what we got to start telling. Because this is our story. And our story is a grand story. Jim Crow was an institution, and when the decision in Plessy versus Ferguson was made to set the standard for separate but equal, there was one guy on the Supreme Court that stood up and said, no, 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 no. He literally said, if we do this, we will damage race relations in this country for the next 100 years. There was one man that stood up and dissented. His name was John Marshall Harlan. He was a former slave owner who got saved by Jesus Christ, repudiated slavery, and became an abolitionist, and became a Republican. His wisdom gave him prophecy, because Jim Crow separated this nation for many years, trod many people underfoot. The repudiation of Jim Crow came not by Democrats, not by Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, certainly didn't come through Lyndon Johnson. Some of the things Lyndon Johnson said, I can't even repeat on this stage. Came through that Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education. Then you go out and you ask the average person, who wasn't responsible for that? They'll tell you, oh, that was Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall was the attorney. But the Supreme Court justice who sat in the majority was a man named Earl Warren. And Earl Warren was a Republican. He was the one responsible. And that court was the court that was responsible for repudiating Jim Crow.
Let's go, Mark.
See, I'm saying all this to you all for this one purpose. Stop letting somebody else tell everybody else who you are as Republicans. Stop it. Because all these battles we are fighting, they are all based on narratives, skewered narratives that we see coming from the left. Blatant untruths that we see coming from the left. The untruth right now that we see over an issue called voter ID. You got Delta Airlines down in Georgia saying, you know, I don't think it's right to bring on that Jim Crow. We ain't gonna stand for that. We gonna make y'all pay for that. We're gonna write a strongly worded letter, and then we're gonna do something to hurt y'all because we don't think this is right. And I'm using that voice for a reason, and I'll tell you why.
Yes, sir.
I was talking to somebody over here on this side of the room. Since Delta Airlines don't think I ought to have to show an ID to vote, next time I show up to the airport, yes, I'm here to get on your airplane. Where's your ticket? Oh, I don't have one. Well, where's your ID? I'm not showing you my ID. That's racist. Don't you know I'm a black man? I can't get ID. They don't let us in those places. And then I'm going to demand a first-class seat. They turn me down on all those counts. I'm going to say, well, you guys are a bunch of racists that don't want black people sitting in first class. See how ridiculous that is?
Yes, sir.
Do you see how ridiculous that is?
Yes, sir.
Let me go ahead and get this out of the way right now and stop beating around the bush. I am absolutely 100% offended, and it's hard to offend me. I am offended by the notion of those on the left that think I'm too stupid to find my way down to go get a free ID to go vote. I feel like I need to remind these people of who I am and where my people come from. You see, my people, we survived this thing called the Middle Passage. Where we were chained together in the belly of ships and had to cross the Atlantic Ocean under the most miserable conditions that you can think of.
Yes, sir.
I come from a people who survived that.
Yes.
You think about that. I come from a people who survived the whips and the chains and the lashes of the mechanized slavery of the old South.
Yes, sir.
That's the people I come from. I come from the people who survived the bombs and the bullets and the nooses of Jim Crow. Survived those things. And not only survived those things, thrived while they were going on.
Yes, sir.
That's who I come from. Now to hear Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and a bunch of leftists tell me after I've survived all that, after my people have survived all that we're now too stupid to find our way down and get this free ID to protect our vote. How dare you? How dare you tell me that? How dare you spread that narrative? It is a lie from the pit of hell. And the only people that can repudiate it are the people that are putting it towards. Believe me, I'm one of them. See, a lot of people accuse me of being well, let's just go ahead and say it. People accuse me. I've been accused of being everything from Uncle Tom to a Russian bot. Somebody told me one time, I know that's just a picture you stole off the internet. You are a white man posing as a black man. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, these things happen on social media. But I can assure you, there's one thing that I'm proud of. There's one thing that I'm proud of. It's where I've come from.
Yes, sir.
It's where I've come from. And when I say where I've come from, I don't just mean where I have come from. I mean literally where we have come from. You think about that. You think about where black Americans have come from. Literally from being chained up in the belly of ships we came from to being senators and congressmen and the president of the United States. How dare you tell me this is not the land of opportunity? How dare you tell me that the party that I'm a member of is not responsible for that? Was not for us, it would not have happened.
Right.
We were the first ones to push it, and we are the ones who push it now. We are the ones that stand up for equality and freedom this day. We stand up for the unborn. We stand up for people in all situations, for workers. We stand up for what is right in this party, and we always have. Folks, it is time for us to stop letting people tell other people who we are. It's time for us to start telling the world who we are. But I'm going to tell you this. If the United States of America, if this constitutional republic is to have a future, it is only going to come at the leadership of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
On the other side, what they're pushing, the agendas that they're pushing. We see this anti-police agenda that they're pushing. Let me go ahead and get into this. Right, let me go. Just get into it. Let's just go and get into it. I told them when it started. I told them while it was going on.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now. The more we see our police browbeat and hamstrung, the worst crime is going to get in this nation. Now, y'all just gonna get mad at me if y'all want to, but that stupid old man Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That'll probably be in the newspaper tomorrow. So let me say it again so they get the quote right. That stupid old man Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Talking about how he gonna tax AR-15s, and we got this sounding out this gun line. We gotta get the AR-14s off the street. The AFTs gotta get out of here. We gotta get this done. It's an embarrassment to the nation. I can assure you the only embarrassment to the nation that instead of having a commander-in-chief, we have a stumbler-in-chief, a mumbler-in-chief, an empty suit as our president. That's the embarrassment that this nation has right now. And I mean that in all sincerity, because here it is. You can watch Further, police is browbeat, intimidated, and not be allowed to be proactive in fighting crime. The higher the crime rate goes up, the more mass shootings we see, the more carjackings we see, the more rapes we see, the more murders we see. This is a nation of laws, and our police officers are supposed to carry out those laws. And let me just stop right here and say this, so I can go ahead and infuriate the left totally. God bless our men and women who service in uniform on the streets of our nation. Because here it is. I heard speaker last night, Trey Galley was talking about that passage from the Bible. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. I was thinking about that passage one time, and I looked it up in the King James Version of the Bible, and I was shocked to find something. In that passage, it does not say love. It says, now abideth these three things: faith, hope, and charity.
Yes, sir.
And the greatest of these is charity.
Right.
Spells that out. And I got to thinking about that, and I said, what is the difference here? Charity. What is charity? And I said, you know, to a little child, charity is when their parents get them an Xbox for Christmas. Dog, Mom got me an Xbox for Christmas. How charitable of her. To the uninitiated person, charity is when you give a homeless person $10 and snap a picture of it, put it on social media so you can get likes. That's charity to the uninitiated. To someone who's just a philanthropist, who wants to appear to be good, charity is giving $1 million of 50 billion. That's charity. Those of you all that know Jesus Christ and know what his mission for us is, they know this. Real charity is this. Real charity is when you are willing to sacrifice everything for a cause that is greater than you and expect absolutely nothing in return. That is charity. And there's no other person that I can think of, no other people that I can think of than soldiers and police officers who give absolute charity to their nation and their communities. Our police officers get up every day, strap on a badge and a gun in an environment right now where they are living despised. Still get up every day and go out and serve our community. Still go out and risk their lives. Still walk out and leave their children and their spouses not knowing if they're going to see them that night. It is charity beyond belief. It is a blessing beyond belief. And so, we have to stand up for those men and women in uniform and push back against these false narratives. You know, a few years back, they were talking about, black people, you got to have the talk with your children. When they said that, my wife looked at each other and said, well, our kids grown. We done had to talk with them. We told our children where babies come from a long time ago. No, not that talk. You got to tell them how to deal with the police. We told them that. We told them how to act and behave. We ain't got to have no special talk. When you raise your kids right, you ain't got to teach them how to act with the police. Because when they say the police, they say the same thing to the police they say to the preacher and the teacher. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, I will. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. See, when you do right, you ain't got to worry about wrong. You ain't got to worry about it. You ain't got to be worried. You ain't got to worry about your children riding home from work when you done raised them right. You see, I got a son. Son looks a little rough. He likes to keep his hair a little long, and he likes to slump down in the seat when he drives. And he's got a bad habit of not always getting his tags renewed. I think he gets that from his father. Took my wife many years to get that straightened out of me. So my son has been stopped by the police a number of times. Not a whole lot, but I mean a number of times. And every time he's got stopped, it came out the same way. He got his ticket, he got his warning, he went home. Why? Because we taught our son how to behave, not just with policemen, but in society, period. Not just with policemen. They'll take any special help. See, folks, all this stuff that I'm talking about again, this is all about us pushing back against the false narratives that we hear being preached every day. We hear every day from every corner. Mass media, the newspaper, television. We hear it in movies. We hear it in television shows. This whole prevalent attitude that somehow all the things that we learned when we were children and all the things that have made this nation great are somehow, now they're wrong. They're wrong. And we got all these newfangled ideas. Newfangled ideas that are supposed to make society better. Newfangled ideas like, I know you might be a man and you might weigh 285 pounds. And I know you have a beard. And I can see the hair on your chest. But if you want to play on the girls' basketball team, that's just fine. Not in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
You got these ideas like that, men playing on the women's sports team. You got ideas like, I want you to listen to this. Now follow. I guess it's probably about 3 months. No, not that long ago. Maybe 2 months ago. Somewhere in a high rise, so in one of them old big tall buildings you see in New York City, Chicago, a bunch of executives got together. They brought in their briefcases and they brought in their, the secretaries and aides. They all came together, they sat around this big table. And these are guys with PhDs, CEOs, these guys, cream of the crop people, just smart as a whip. All these letters behind their name, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They sat down at this table, and they wanted to have a frank, honest discussion about the gender of a plastic potato. See one of these people saying, we really have to consider whether Mr. Potato Head should stay Mr. Potato Head, or if we should just make it Potato Head, based on what's going on in society right now. I think it would have took one person in that room to stand up and say, right outside that window out there, there are young people that are being murdered hand over fist on Wall
Yes,
Street.
sir.
Right outside the streets out there, on those streets out there are people walking the streets that don't know what they're going to do because they lost their job, they lost their income because of COVID.
Right.
Right outside that street out there are people that are wondering how they're going to pay their health care bill because their wife is at home with cancer and their job is about to shut down and move to Mexico.
That's right.
Right outside there, that window out there are people that are hurt and lost and broken. And we're sitting in this room discussing the gender of a plastic potato. You see, that would have been leadership. That would have been leadership. But in this nation, leadership is in short supply.
You're right.
We need to bring it back.
Yes, sir.
People ask me all the time, they say, you seem like a natural born leader. I wouldn't say that. Took me a long time to get where I am. And I don't want to go to crying up here, so I'm not going to talk about all the hard times that I've had in my life.
Yes, sir.
I've had some hard times. I've had some drive homes where I had to really get with myself and ask myself where I was going in life.
Yeah.
Well, I knew I was going home to a house that didn't have hot running water. Well, I knew I was going home to a house where I had a stack of bills I didn't know what I was going to pay. So I wouldn't call myself a natural born leader. What I'd probably call myself is this. I'd probably call myself somebody who's just following God. I'm just following God. I'm just following his lead. He's the leader, I'm the follower. And along with that, people ask me all the time, they say, how in the world can you be so bold? How can you stand on stage and call a powerful newspaper like, or news agency like WRAL, we really are liberal? Then you have enough guts to stand on stage and call Governor Roy Cooper a big, fat-mouthed hypocrite.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you why I call Governor Roy Cooper a hypocrite. Governor Roy Cooper will talk all day long about how we want to make North Carolina a place where African Americans can feel safe and be prosperous. And we want to make everything equal for everyone. If it sounds like I'm mocking Governor Cooper, I am mocking Governor Cooper. Because Governor Cooper mocks himself every time he opens his mouth. This man that professes to care so much about African Americans couldn't be concerned with calling the first black lieutenant governor and saying congratulations or inviting me over to see him in his mansion. I have yet to be in that mansion with him. See, Roy Cooper doesn't care anything about black folks. Roy Cooper cares about Roy Cooper and what his next step might be. So Roy Cooper knows he has to walk the political line, not the people line, not the righteousness line, the political line. So the first black lieutenant governor don't make no difference to Roy Cooper because I'm in the wrong party.
That's right.
Can't talk to me. Talk to the man one time for about 3 minutes. Timed it on my phone. I think it was 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Probably the worst 3 minutes and 17 seconds of my life.
Get him!
So I ain't got no qualms calling the man a hypocrite. The proof is in the pudding. You tell me you care about the people of North Carolina, but you stripped every right away from them during the crisis, up to and including their right to assemble at church. You stripped it away from them. The lie and the truth is not in it. And folks ask me, how in the world can you be so bold? How can you be so bold? And I tell them, well, it's not really me. And some of y'all might have heard this story because I've been telling it a lot. I love this story. So I'm going to tell it again because I'm going to keep on telling it because I like it. I was watching, I do a little, I do a little internet stuff sometimes. I was looking at the internet one time, just digging around, and this thing came across my Facebook timeline. Caught my eye because it was a little bear cub. And that bear cub was running through the woods. And I thought, what in the world is going on? I'm going to watch this shit. So I watched it. That bear cub was running. It jumped over a log and climbed up this log and ran down. And then pretty soon they showed what the bear cub was running from. The bear cub was running from a cougar. Running from a cougar. And that cougar wasn't really even running. He was cougar was just kind of trotting like, I don't know where this baby bear thinks he's going. We're having baby bear for dinner. So let him run and tucker himself out. I hear that's good for the adrenaline. That makes the meat taste good. So this bear is running, hard as he can. Hard as climbing over rocks and falling down and tumbling. I'm thinking, this is terrible. Are they really going to film this bear getting eaten? The bear gets to a river, and I think, well, that's it. The bear's done. No. The little bear jumps in the river, swims across the river. The bear's not about 3 feet tall, swimming across the river. The cat hopping across rocks, just watching. Thinking, I got you now. You're about to back yourself into a corner. Sure enough, That little bear cub has backed himself into a corner. And that cougar is closing in on him. That cougar's got a little sly grin on his face. And that bear cub is looking around like, well, looks like I'm caught here. Looks like I gotta make my final stand. So that bear cub does what a bear does. Raised up, all 3 foot up. Raised up them little tiny paws. And he gave out the strongest cry that he could, which was weak at best. That cougar looked at him again with that same little grin, like, what are you hollering about? Then they switched back again and they showed that cougar's face again. And that cougar's eyes got about as big as saucers. And they panned that camera back. And that baby bear was standing there with his hands raised. And behind him was that bear's mother, standing 9 feet tall, with both her paws out, shaking the ground with her voice. And it was at that moment that that cougar knew he was no longer dealing with that baby bear. He was dealing with that mother. You see, I'm that baby bear. That's me. I'm the cub. And what you hear coming out of me tonight is not me. What you hear coming out of me is truth from the Almighty.
All right.
He's standing behind me right now, proud. Because he knows what is true. And he knows what is true is this. What I said at the beginning, when I first started talking, it is time. It is time for the people of this nation who have been blessed by God to stand up in his name. Allow him to stand behind us, fight for us, and carry us on toward victory. No fight that we have ever undertaken in this nation, not our revolution, not the Civil War, not World War II, not any of our wars, did we ever fight alone. There was always someone bigger standing behind us, and it was God Almighty. If we are to win today, he has to stand behind us today as well. And so I implore each one of you all to be encouraged. Because as you stand in your daily walk against the tyranny that we see coming from every corner, from our mass media, to Washington, D.C., to Raleigh, to your school boards, to your county commissions, to your city councils, know that you do not stand alone. You do not stand alone if you stand in truth. Just like on April 3rd when I stood in front of that city council, I did not stand alone. Folks, we're not standing by ourselves. We are standing for truth. We are standing for righteousness. We are standing for our God. We are standing for freedom. We are standing for equality. And we are standing up for this constitutional republic that has been blessed by the Almighty. Remember, we do not stand alone, we do not fight alone, and we will not win alone. Let's do what we need to do to save this nation for future generations and move forward in victory so that one day somebody will tell the great story, the grand old story, how the Moore County Republicans and the Wake County Republicans and the Guilford County Republicans and the Rockingham County Republicans and all the county Republicans of North Carolina stood up for this state and stood up for this nation and saved freedom forever. God bless you all. God bless Moore County. And God bless the nation.
Between summer storms or winter blizzards, many areas of the country are prone to blackouts. This is why I highly recommend the Power Light Bulb.
It charges a built-in battery, and it'll detect if you have a power outage. And when it detects that, it'll activate the LED component above.
Get the Power Light Bulb for 67% off today by going to www.powerlightbulb or clicking the link below.